Idolatry, that's just fake. And all that wallowing that you tolerate, that's not faith. The kings of colony watched autonomy make our graves. The kings of colony know no policy, only rape. Now once you fall asleep, it won't bother you what they say. But the kings of colony, while they slaughter, they still complain. We say, please color me, still too solemnly, still too plain. All hail economy, praise the pharmacy, seas in flames. They're buying up Hawaii, and the smoke's not even cleared. Those vultures smelled the fire and an enterprise appeared. Investment opportunities where melted down communities leave vacant space BlackRock has been lusting for years. The council meets in private and they don't discuss survivors. Concerns among construction groups are all Lahaina hears. They'll wander through your city with this mocking sword of pity next to Oprah and her camera crew who tore the Trail of Tears, where footage flows as freely as the stream of liquid steel and the pools of pure aluminum that trickle down your wheels. And Biden's here to say he knows exactly how it feels, cause he had a kitchen fire once and had to miss a meal. And people still believe that piece of shit deserves your vote, like he's not why supplies are being smuggled in by boat, like he's not why our citizens were forced to stay and roast. And he can't unfreeze your funding, folks, cause Azov needs it most. I'll bet my every dollar Biden watched it with a smile. I'll bet he knows the whereabouts of every missing child. He's just the kind of man who lives to trample something tribal, collecting culture's corpses just to throw them on the pile. Like he and all his buddies didn't dream about the day when those who dared defy the donor class were cleared away, when home insurance triples and you can't afford to stay, and your land falls to the hands of those whose windfall fan the flames. The state will take Lahaina and they'll bastardize its name, and tourism will swarm it all the same. You see, the state we left Lahaina shows the ground rules of the game, the planes that in the night ignite the planes. And if questions raised that reckon the potential use of lasers, I suggest you take a closer shave by way of Occam's razor. And if those civilians stood between this country and its gains, then there's really nothing further to explain. Because you may know this already, if you truly know our past, but it ain't the first occasion and it will not be the last, where Americans are kettled in and made to bear the blast, are barricaded in and left for ash. How many in Lahaina now are lying there awake and still can hear the city we left leveled in our wake? They still hear all the people that we let the fire take, instructed from above to stay in place. So look to the horizon, cause a fire comes for you. Desire made incarnate of the power-hungry few who instructed the police to not let anybody through, to barricade them in, and so they do. SWAT team took your neighbor today. Watch them as they walked him away. self-extremists come in all different shapes. Met his eyes and lowered your gaze. But is it too late for us to ever change? When we are collecting the dust of better days, they're always watching us, but we're never safe. We're not meant to be safe, not meant to escape. We aren't meant to wake. The sheriff stopped your daughter today. Pepper sprayed her twice in the face. He must have had good reason if he'd treat her that way. At least that's what they've taught you to say. But is it too late for us to ever change? Once we're collecting the dust of better days, they're always watching us, but we're never safe. We're not meant to feel safe, not meant to escape. We aren't meant to wake. Feds arrived and had you detained. Said you'd made some posts they want changed. Tased you till you felt like you'd forgotten your name, or life before they had you contained. Life before they had you contained. SWAT team took your neighbor today. They won't let you go, set you free, send you home. Wait, please say you know what you need is what you're owed, and they won't let you go, set you free, send you home.
I was close enough to smell the fire. Jesus took the wheel and then he kicked me off the ride. I was busy shouting at myself from in the crowd, about to throw down and drag myself outside. I had to give myself the business. When I show myself forgiveness, it goes right between the eyes. Was looking past my shoulder, never focused on the prize. I stalked myself through burning sand the better part of 40 nights. I found myself staring in the mirror, yelling, go into the light. Cause I was in the rear view, staring at the highway, horrified. I was in the road ahead, arms wide, ready to be mummified. Gonna be the fella yelling how he's sick of always betting on his life. I'll also be the guy that brought the dice. Half a dozen chambers and I keep an empty 5. Only needed one to break the ice. Only needed one to clear my mind. Only needed one to stop time.
Wait, please say you know. What you need is what you owed, and they won't let you go. Set you free, send you home.
I'll be the guy that brought the dice.
Because guess what? What has every major crime bill that's gotten this far been? A Democratic crime bill. A Democratic crime bill. That's the secret. A Democratic crime bill. A Democratic president wants 100,000 cops.
I guess in the end that it's just a crapshoot. Who denounces the true you versus who backs you? Knowing you would skin the poor to make a tracksuit. Knowing you'd begin a few wars if your overlords asked you. Knowing that the ink's not dry on the last few. And knowing that your voters aren't living in a goddamn vacuum. We see through you, Joe, we see past you. Joe, we know you only want to kick trans folks out the bathrooms. Spittle up some dreck about family values.
That's the secret.
Take away our weed and then say that we just need Valium. Joe Biden, patron saint of Big Pharma, knows no karma, and all of our media paints him as valiant. Well, I'm here to tell you the spirit of Biden exists in a cursed medallion that rose out of hell like smoke in the form of 1,000 stallions. A dead battalion. Eyes blood red with a lust for the violence of racial injustice.
That's the secret.
I come to bury Joe and burn a candle for Augustus. It's maybe not a song you would dance to, but something of substance. Something in place that can warn you when liberals lie while they're looking you straight in the eye and they say you can trust us.
That's the secret.
I come to bury Joe and burn a candle for Augustus. Maybe you didn't get what I meant. This is not a political event. It's the winter of our discontent. Half of us will not make rent. I might burn my masters just to keep warm. Big white lies. No silver lining under smoke gray skies. And all of the streets ran red, but the blood sure kept our feet warm. So vote for the wolf in sheep form. Defund police before we're all deformed. Take our free speech, we'll speak in the tongues of C4. Our lungs need more to send us packing than tear gas thrown from the hands of fascists who killed their cams and take off their badges. All while Biden and Kamala fund our assassins and offer us nothing but platitudes. They'll tell us go out and vote and then clean up your attitudes. Well, Joe, fuck you to death and the donors you fed us to. Go out and vote and then clean up your attitudes.
A Democratic president wants 100,000 cops. A Democratic president wants 100,000 cops.
INN, Indy, you're wonderful.
I think Indy was onto something.
Independent News Network, Indie News. Yeah. What's up, Indy, over on Rockfin?
Independent News Network, also known as INN.
Indy Left News.
I don't know if I would have made it through that 3 weeks without Indy, honestly.
No, I was just going to ask Indy.
A huge thank you and shout out to Indy Left.
No, you know what we're doing? We're world building, Indy.
Indy Left News.
You were doing the INN recruiting.
Indie News.
Independent Left News.
Shout out to Independent Left News.
Check out Independent Left News.
At Kennedy News.
I see Indy's in the chat. Hi,
Indy! Who are these people?
Yes, who are these people? That's the secret. I'm not going to peek out my mic tonight. It's the secret.
You're not? I bet you are.
Oh, I bet I will. I got a lot of shit. I got a lot of shit I'm going to talk about tonight, so that's the secret for sure. Canterbury Joe Canterbury. Amazing Jesse Jett. How he did that. All right. He sampled that. Apparently that was Joe Biden in 1993. And I didn't realize that about the Democratic crime bill. Well, it's a Democratic president. And here he is, a Democratic president, wants 100,000 cops. And it's prophetic. I don't know how he does this. It's amazing. If you're not following JesseJett.Bandcamp.
Not surprising, honestly.
It isn't, but at the same time, to pull everything from whatever this guy has to say and get that and realize that that's one of the plans, sure. Anyway, this is How Do We Miss That, everybody? Hi, it's Sunday night. This is a big night. I'm surprised Reef isn't wearing a tux. What?
I know, right?
We're debuting Boats Uncensored, so we're gonna do that later. But in the meantime, we've got a lot of stories and a bunch of shit to get to. I will say that tonight's going to be a little bit different, only because it's what I kind of was hoping we would accomplish a lot at INN, was that we would have people who would write articles that we could then cover on our shows. And we're going to do that quite a bit tonight. We'll also cover some other stuff. In the meantime, so we talked a lot about campus last week. College is bullshit, but that these kids are inspiring, right? Well, hey, now that's our agenda for tonight. We don't need to see that. So we saw, as expected, an escalation this week on college campuses, and it is, were they infiltrators? I mean, it sure seems like it, because these were peaceful protests for the better part of a week.
Some of them, surely.
For a week plus. We're going to look at a bunch of them right now. I think people have gone through this, but Andrew, our friend Andrew Smith, he actually wrote something over that I pulled over at INN Stack. I was going to read that. There's a lot tonight. Go check that out. We're going to look at, he's talking about this woman at Ole Miss and this idiots, man. I don't know if you saw this. I mean, this is not, are these feds? Are these infiltrators? Now, he thinks that these are paid astroturfers and Fed boy agent provocateurs. I think these are just Mississippi dumbass Southern college boys, personally. But you
probably a bit of both.
Like,
yeah,
they're escorting her out, of course, counter protesting, and they're it's gross.
Yep.
Like, what? Taking care of business. This is, by the way, an elected representative who's encouraging. Like, what did she do? My understanding is peaceful protest, and they were just clearing her out.
She didn't like genocide. That's what she did.
Well, yeah, we're seeing a lot of that. Now, this I saw this morning, Karina, and she's great over on the Substack. She found this. This is at University of Virginia. I'm sorry, at George Washington. Rudy Rockman. He's done a podcast. I've seen him. iOS Sniper, right? Who's tried to debunk a lot of the stuff online, and he's one of their propagandists, but they expelled him. Who took part in? He took part in the ground invasion into Khan Yunis, and I don't know what he was doing showing up there, but they were not having it. They tossed him out. That was at George Washington. This was at University of Virginia. VSP forcing protesters away from the encampment with pepper spray and tear gas. Lots of physical altercation. So she broke through the line. She's like a teacher. Like, what the fuck?
Yep.
Okay. Why are all these now? They're all standing there because the cops are there. They were not like that.
Yeah.
Before. Now, did I miss something?
And you got two dogs arguing in a fence in between.
Right. Right. So now this one we had from Popular Resistance through the People's Dispatch. Says hundreds arrested in Gaza solidarity encampments. This was the other day, May 2nd. Police were deployed to violently crack down on Gaza solidarity encampments erected by students at dozens of universities to demand that they divest from Israel. No, right? So, and Danny Haifong's in here. Shout out to Danny. I believe he's live right now. Hundreds of students, professors, community members were beaten and arrested by officers on the night of April 30th. The crackdown and mass arrests at Columbia and City College, ordered by university admins, were carried out to clear and evict Gaza solidarity encampments, which have been launched by students at dozens of campuses across the country in the last 2 weeks. I would say that's over 100 now. I saw a list somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah. Danny says if this were China, Western media would be screaming about authoritarianism and clamoring for sanctions or military intervention, but this isn't Colombia. This isn't China. It's Colombia U. Look at the show of force they brought in. It was like 16. Somebody said something about 16,000 cops. That's insane. Yeah, Angel, shout out, calling it an invading force. And he may very well be correct. Right? So, right, legal observers, and this is Eric Adams' Night of Terror. Nobody likes the New York City mayor, right or quote unquote left. The only people that seem to are the authoritarian left and the donor left. And of course, the Israel lobby. But legal observers have estimated that several hundred people were arrested in the coordinated crackdown in the city. They weren't even releasing how many people they were arresting. Hundreds of cops were deployed to the two universities in uptown Manhattan, where students had maintained Gaza solidarity encampments. That looked like a lot more than hundreds right there marching alone. That couldn't have been all of them. Crackdown was launched less than a day after Columbia students had occupied a building on campus, Hamilton Hall, and renamed it Hind Hall after the Gazan child murdered by Israeli forces after calling for help. They literally have her on the phone calling and talking to the operators, saying that she was in an ambulance. They've already killed the driver and the other person in the ambulance. Can you please help me? And I believe they shot her. So, yeah. Students had declared the building was in response to the occupation was in response to the administration's refusal to engage in good faith negotiations, citing their threats of deploying police and National Guard, and finally declaring that they would not divest from Israel. So there's no conversation, just no. We know why. There's been a lot of reports about how far back Colombia supports the imperial state. Following the occupation, the administration announced those participating would be expelled, while dozens of students proceeded to be arbitrarily suspended, and the campus went into complete lockdown. Again, terror lockdowns, climate lockdowns, virus lockdowns. They're trying to find a way to lock people down, and I don't think they're looking to find it, but they're trying to get control back of of their university and get the students to get in line. They have a legitimate beef and gripe. They're like, look, we're spending $60,000 a year each here. So finally, on the night of April 30th, police invasion appeared imminent as hundreds of officers with zip ties gathered outside the university. Actually, shout out to Max Sarge, because he was in our comments that morning saying they were talking about going in at 10 p.m. that night. And sure enough, 9:57, Jesse and I were getting ready to go live. We're like, oh, they're going in. They're breaking it up. That was Tuesday night. Watch American Tradition episode 40, by the way. That was a lot of fun from Tuesday. Right? It says around 9 p.m. They violently pushed through a line of protesters outside the gates around 9. Arresting dozens, then proceeded to storm the campus using a tank and ladder to access the second floor of the building, secured and occupied by students. Yeah, they couldn't get into the. Of course, they had the doors barricaded. There was only one way in and out. People were upset and saying that they were violating the fire code. Eyewitnesses recount that dozens of officers entered the hall, brutalized those inside, and arrested them. No surprise, they were dying to do that, we know. A complete lockdown was also declared across the campus, and students, faculty, and workers alike were barricaded in buildings by police officers under threat of arrest. Isn't that nice?
It is nice.
Right? At the same time...
This is the nicest.
Right. Hundreds of police officers surrounded City College, barricading students and workers at City College inside and threatening them with arrest. After students and community defended the perimeter of the university for several hours, cops proceeded to storm the gates, armed with pepper spray and batons, and violently evict the encampment and arrest hundreds. Remember who's being violent here. It's not the students. It's the police who are escalating with violence. They're trying to evict these kids who have legitimate gripe. They should allow people to pass through and to have access, but all those people are trying to do is mess up their encampment. So I understand why they would want to stop people from doing that. Now they have over 400 arrestees from the two universities were taken to one police plaza for processing, while hundreds of people rallied outside. Students and people across New York City have vowed that the heavy repression doled out by the mayor's police force will not deter them from fighting for Palestine, and are hitting the streets again on May 1st in a mass march for International Workers' Day. Right, there's Donziger, Columbia speech. Yeah, that was Rashid Khalidi gave a speech. Right, here you go. The Adams is going to the antiseptic line. Outside agitators, right? They're attempting to disrupt our city. But we know a little bit more about that now, don't we? And we're going to talk about that in a second, because the gray zone, shout out to Max and to Wyatt Reade for figuring out another piece of the puzzle, or whoever they got it from, but they published this this week also. But on the other side of the country at UCLA, dozens of Zionist counter-protesters launched unprecedented violent attacks against the students in the Gaza Solidarity encampment. They shot fireworks at students, beat them with pieces of wood, punched and kicked them, shouted obscenities, and inflicted hours of terror on the hundreds of students and community members that are participating in the Gaza Solidarity encampment at UCLA. Despite the trigger-happy response against students, police barely intervened. How about that? And dozens of students were seriously injured. Go figure. No way. As we know, over the past 2 weeks, thousands of students have been pitching tents on campuses. Not necessarily, look, they're Walmart tents. They're not being supplied by an organization.
Right. Yeah.
That's the dumbest thing that I've seen circling around. They're being paid for by George Soros. Well,
meanwhile, there's active GoFundMe's for counter protesting, like up right now with $40,000.
I saw it was like, 52,000 last I saw. Right, but
right, it's like every fucking accusation is a confession.
Right, students have now inspired students from across the world who have now also organized encampments at universities in Australia, Canada, France, the UK, Lebanon, Tunisia, and more. Kathy Vaughan over at Consortium News went down to an Australian one she interviewed. She's like, no police. Administration's totally cool with us doing this. Like, they understand. They're permitting it. Everybody gets it.
Yeah.
Unlike what happened over at Columbia. Well, before we do that, let's take a pause for a second. Say hi to everybody. Hi, everybody. What's up? Yeah. Cops are not fun. We do not like the ones that go and beat up students.
There's a saying about cops.
Yeah.
About how all of them are something. I can't remember how.
What? All of them 40% of something? What? No. Oh, I'm mixing them up.
Something
Sorry.
40%.
Sorry, 40%. Oh, okay. So Anna Mayer says that they're never going to be able to drag her out. Where are all the boomers who protested Vietnam? They're sitting inside the encampments and they're fighting to protect the students, is what's happening, Anna Mayers. Never going to lock my ass down, motherfuckers. Mm-hmm. That's right. All right. Steve Burt's over on the Rockfin also. I mean, we knew it was coming from the observation in the streets, the law of police. Yes, we did. The UCLA situation is crazy. We're going to show you a little bit more about one of the infiltrators there. Mastermind had Jesse on a little while ago. Go check that out. That was Beyond the Arc Politics over on RBN Long Beach. That was just before this show, so definitely go check out Jesse there. I don't know if he played something, but hopefully he did. He got his new guitar, so we're excited for that. And yep, Boats is only on Rumble tonight. So everybody, go ahead.
Fixed guitar. Guitar Center didn't completely fuck him over.
He got a fixed guitar. Yes, he got a fixed guitar. Global Solidarity occupying in Australia created no tent laws, so occupiers created clothing and wore small tent to trick Popo. Nice, love it. Anna's asking, where are the parents? Well, these are like 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. Where are they? I don't know how much control they've got over their kids at this point. They may be behind them. They may be complete Zionists that are against them.
A lot of these kids are like, out of state, like alumni or whatever. Their parents send them to Columbia from whatever podunk, middle of the country town they managed to get a scholarship coming out of. Like, who knows? But
right, JJ is saying both sides been getting
aren't going to be
up.
there all the time.
Both sides getting set up by the Fed so cops can get more overtime, industry standards in civil rights era. COINTEL, bro. Not just COINTEL, but also so that they can shape the narrative that these are violent protests when they haven't been. Right?
Yeah.
And that way, that excuses...
The only violence I've seen is armed groups of fucking
cops.
Zionist, kids.
Right.
And infiltrators and whatever.
Mm-hmm. The ones that show up with the skunk that
you're already seeing
Columbia.
Narrative control over it, where it's like, there's been multiple tweets about the cops should just shoot these kids and get it over with and whatever, and it's like, I thought this was America. Where's those kids Second Amendment rights? Like, would you be okay with that? Would you be okay with them defending themselves? Do they have the right to defend themselves?
Right.
That shit goes both ways, homie. So
no, it doesn't. That's the thing. It only goes one way. And
right.
That's always how
it's only
works.
allowed to escalate.
Yep.
One-sidedly. So
that's not on the screen. All right. Weird. All right. So we got Rick. We got a lot of people here tonight. That's awesome. I'm so glad everyone's here already. We got 20 on YouTube. At least good to see everyone. Rockfin.com/INN, rumble.com/C/Indie News Network. If anybody's over on the Rumbles, I hope you are. I don't see anyone chatting on Rumble yet. I'll shout you out. I did test it. It does work. Himbo! Oh my God, we got a Himbo sighting. All right. Saturday nights, check out Himbo Gaming. He was playing the Thermaturge. I finally got it right. It took me like 2 weeks to learn how to say it. Right? But that's a badass game. He's been playing that on Saturday nights. And then on Thursday nights, well, this week it was Tuesday, but usually Thursday nights, he's been doing Politically Homeless with Big Mac Crab. So check that out on INN. All right, so let's go to this Gray Zone article that I brought. Some of you may have seen this already. It's been covered in a couple of places, but Columbia crackdown was led by a university professor who was doubling as a NYPD spook. But it only gets worse. Rebecca Weiner is a Columbia University professor who also serves as the intelligence director of the NYPD. Mayor Eric Adams credits her with spying on the anti-genocide student protesters and directing the militarized raid that dislodged them from campus. That's where she also studied. Give you two guesses.
Mrs. Weiner, where did she study?
Yes.
I'm a bet Yale, Columbia, one of those Ivy Leagues.
Well, also somewhere overseas, but the violent crackdown carried out on...
Hotel Hasbara.
Maybe.
That place.
Yes. The violent crackdown carried out on Columbia students protesting Israel's genocidal assault on the Gaza Strip was led by a member of the school's own faculty, New York City Mayor Eric Adams has declared. Not surprised. During a May 1st press conference, just hours after the New York Police Department arrested nearly 300 people on university grounds. Now, according to People's Dispatch, it was over 400 between City College. Adams praised adjunct Columbia professor Rebecca Weiner, who moonlights as the head of the NYPD Counterterrorism Bureau, for giving police the green light to clear out anti-genocide students by force. Quote, she was the one monitoring the situation, adding that the crackdown was carried out after her team was able to conduct an investigation. So it's not even just her. She's got a team of spooks inside Columbia. Oh, here's her getting congratulated. When she was recently appointed the Deputy Commissioner for Intel and Counterterrorism for NYPD. That was in July.
Congratulations on being the world's biggest bitch.
Well, I think that people inside Columbia would agree. Right? So on April 30th,
you fool!
dozens of cops in riot gear descended on Columbia's Hamilton Hall after students seized the building earlier in the day, citing a request from the admin. Several hours later, officers used a heavily armored NYPD Bearcat vehicle to enter the building through the window on the second floor and arrested those inside, while another team swept up members of the encampment outside. So that was 2 weeks. Starting on April 17th, students of Columbia escalated their ongoing protest against Israel's genocidal assault on the besieged Gaza Strip. Also on the West Bank, but mostly on the Gaza Strip. They encamped on school grounds, stating their refusal to leave until the university fully divested from its Israeli-related investments. That protest model has since spread to over 100 other universities in the U.S. and even been taken up abroad with similar actions, like we saw at Leeds University and the Sorbonne in Paris, in Australia, and others. Just a few hundred meters from the Gaza protest encampment, Weiner maintained an office at Columbia School of International and Public Affairs. Her SIPA bio describes her as an adjunct associate professor of international and public affairs, who simultaneously serves as the civilian executive in charge of the NYPD's Intelligence and Counterterrorism Bureau. How does one get that job? In that role, according to SIPA,
nepotism.
Right? Weiner develops policy and strategic priorities for the Intelligence and Counterterrorism Bureau and publicly represents the NYPD in matters involving counterterrorism and intelligence. So she's a PR person and a strategy person.
Sure.
The NYPD's Counterterrorism Bureau currently maintains an office in Tel Aviv where it coordinates with Israel's security apparatus and maintains a department liaison. Weiner appears to serve as a bridge between the Bureau's offices in Israel and New York. That's how she got the gig.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's part of it. So the NYPD liaison has sent hourly updates to NYPD headquarters in Lower Manhattan since the Hamas attacks in Israel, per NYPD Deputy Commissioner. Hourly updates. Okay.
And why not like every 5 minutes? You know? I mean, I feel like they're slacking.
Right.
They're being lazy.
A 2011 AP investigation revealed that a so-called demographics unit operated secretly within the NYPD's Counterterrorism and Intelligence Bureau. What a surprise.
Yeah.
This shadowy outfit.
Otherwise.
But she got me on the counter.
Where's the other half? It wasn't me. Thank you. This shadowy outlet spied on Muslims around the New York City area. Yeah, I couldn't. It was like I'm sailing away. You know, I can't go without finishing. Even on student, all right, they're even spying on students at campuses outside the state who were involved in Palestine solidarity activism. They follow them apparently to Rutgers University, is one of the places. The unit was developed in tandem with the CIA, which has refused to name the former Middle East station chief it posted in the senior ranks of the NYPD's intelligence division.
Yeah.
So now you've got NYPD, Columbia University, Tel Aviv, and the CIA.
Yep.
No issue here. The demographics unit.
No.
That's funny. Appears to have been inspired by Israeli intelligence as well. Not really funny. As a former police official told the AP, the unit attempted to map the city's human terrain through a program modeled in part on how Israeli authorities operate in the West Bank, which is interesting. Mapping the city's human terrain. I believe that's what the Lebanese threw Israeli spies out of their country for in December. We reported on that earlier this year.
Dude, are you kidding me? That's what Morgan Freeman didn't want to do in that Batman movie. You know? Like, being able to fucking
Freeman. Yes.
Morgan Freeman. Yeah, this is AI dystopian shit. We need to model the city's human terrain. What even is that? What is human terrain?
Yes, human terrain is where people will go. Everywhere people can possibly inhabit.
But like it, or is it like the terrain? I don't know. That phrasing is weird. That could be a lot of shit.
Right.
Human terrain is a pretty broad thing.
Right.
That could be how you go around the city, let alone not just like the topographic information.
Well, so I asked how somebody gets this job, and it's funny that you say what you said.
I asked him.
You asked him. A lawyer by training. So again, she's not a spy. She's a lawyer by training. She oversaw negotiations between the NYPD and lawyers for local Muslims who had their civil liberties violated by its demographics unit. So she's been around for a while. That was again in 2011. Right. And it was modeled in part. So she was probably instrumental in coordinating that type of training. So you asked again is how does she get, I asked how she gets this job. You said nepotism. Weiner is the granddaughter of Stanislaw Ulam, the Polish Jewish mathematician who helped conceive the H-bomb as part of the Manhattan Project.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, that's not, I mean, sure.
She says, I'm very...
Proof, timeline, screenshots, everything.
All right.
Like,
I'm very proud of that legacy, she says, of course. So
wait. You're proud of one of the people that helped invent the hydrogen bomb. That's what you're proud of? The killing of innocents to the tune of fucking...
It is her grandfather.
Millions or whoever. Yes, and I'd be like, nah, fuck that. That dude was a bitch. Right? I don't care what fucking granddaddy, like, you know, like, fucking Oppenheimer's a fucking family movie for...
So what Max and Wyatt are saying here is that during the NYPD's triumphant May 1st post-raid press conference, she blamed outside agitators for triggering the military-style police crackdown at Columbia. However, she refused to name the outsiders supposedly on scene. No surprise, because the outsiders belonged to her or somebody she probably coordinated with. Allegedly. What?
Wyatt probably thinks that, you know, Oliver Anthony will fix this problem.
Oh, come on, man. According to Weiner, the police response was not necessitated by any criminal behavior, but by the radical language and symbols of the students. Goodness, Karen, give me a fucking break. This is not about students expressing ideas, she claimed. The real problem was the alleged change in tactics by protesters, which she said represented a normalization and mainstreaming of rhetoric associated with terrorism. Yeah, that's a phrase called from the river to the sea. Scares her. All right? Just use it. Let me tell you right now, when it comes to Zionists, just using the word Palestine triggers them. They wince. They can't even hear the word. All right, here's a Michael Tracy thing, putting a video about blaming TikTok and saying that no question, this is recasting political speech as terrorism. That's what she's been trying to do. We've been seeing this crackdown and rebranding of political speech as violence. Shit. AOC tried pulling that shit on Jimmy Dore how many years ago? Violence.
A long time ago.
2020, I believe.
Words are violence.
Words are violence. Proof of this dynamic can be seen in what she claimed was the common trend of wearing headbands associated with foreign terrorist organizations, let alone the fact that your people were going to dox them and try to get them thrown out of school.
Yeah.
The reissuing of Osama bin Laden's 2002 letter to America, which had a lot of interesting points, like it or not. You know, you can wait. They just have to bury it forever. Like, you can't give any credit to anything that was in there whatsoever. Okay. Of course, that's TikTok. And of course, a brief visit to Colombia by Nala Al-Arian, who Weiner incorrectly described as the wife of someone who had been convicted for material support to terrorism. No, she wasn't. Absolute lie, smear job. That's not somebody who I would want necessarily influencing my child if I were a parent of somebody at Columbia. But you're not. You're not. It wasn't your call to make. You just were judge, jury, and executioner for hundreds of students that had already made decisions and been camping out for 2 fucking weeks. Huge stones. Like, wow. Right? Nala's husband, Palestinian academic Sami Al-Arian, had been indicted on flimsy terrorism charges in 2003, but a jury refused to convict him. Nevertheless, her brief stop at the Columbia encampment, where she says she did not even interact with any demonstrators, was cited by Adams during 3 separate media engagements to justify the police repression. Why? Because they needed their narrative. They got it. Didn't matter if it was true. And this woman, Rebecca Weiner, was one of the main perpetrators of that narrative. Here, CNN's Laura Coates just smeared Sami Al-Arian, whose wife apparently visited the encampment a few days ago, as a convicted terrorist. This is a malicious lie. He was never convicted. This is what Israel does. They lie. Then they say, come on, that's a technicality. Come on. Days after the story's already been out there. But when it mattered, the lie is what made it to most of the people, and they know that. And a lot fewer people ever end up hearing the truth. It's garbage. I'm not going to play the video. Check this out. It's in the gray zone. All these links are going to be in the description afterwards, or at least in the Substack. This is going to be so long, I won't even be able to fit all these links in YouTube description. Throughout the press conference, Mayor Adams repeatedly cast the city's crackdown on student speech as the only possible solution to ongoing campus encampments, citing undefined threats to the minds of impressionable youth. God forbid they
he thought about mustard gas, but he figured he couldn't do that.
Well, I mean, the Israelis have been using white phosphorus. They've been using white phosphorus, and they've been using tear gas and pepper spray. So why not? There is a movement to radicalize young people, and I'm not going to wait until it's done and all of a sudden acknowledge the existence of it. Guess what, pal? You're the reason why they're radicalized. They're radicalizing against you, you fucking clown.
Yeah.
Young people are being influenced by those who are professionals at radicalizing our children. Yeah, by beating them up on the streets and arresting 97% of the black ones. Yes. Yeah. People of color, as far as drug stuff, getting arrested a large percentage higher than anyone else. Not that I'm hoping that we do. They should drop all the drug crimes. I'm not going to allow that to happen as mayor of New York City. I don't think he's going to be mayor for much longer. He's definitely in his last term now. After angrily proclaiming that his uncle died defending this country, it's despicable.
I don't stand for that.
It's despicable that schools will allow another country's flag to fly in our country. But wait a minute.
It's despicable.
Something wrong with this picture? I thought he said he wasn't going to allow people to fly another flag in our country.
Here's your sign.
Yeah. So that's Rebecca. That's what we're up against, guys, is Zionists like that, okay? And people like this. Not Chris Legion. Follow Chris Legion. That's our brother. We're going to read one of his articles later. A group of pro-Israel, Israel, or as he says, agitators who assaulted ACLU students have been identified as a private security team associated with Zionist groups and who have a working connection to the LAPD. So the agent provocateur is not the conspiracy theory that media told us it was. And he includes a tweet, which is this piece of shit right here. All right, let's watch this asshole for a minute 46 talk about what he's doing.
What's up, guys? Aaron Cohen here, counterterrorism analyst.
What's up, guys? Counter-terror. I played Counter-Strike for 8 years.
I'm down here at UCLA right now.
Law enforcement instructor.
Teach cops.
Have the opportunity
along with Steven Seagal
to spend a minute here with LASD. Some of my associates.
I spent a minute.
Want to take a minute right now to make it very clear that these guys here. This is one of the finest. This is the largest sheriff's office in the country right here. Special
the finest, largest, tremendous sheriff's office
down here. You've got
great law enforcement. I love them.
Finest trained individuals, not just in the city of Los Angeles, but in the country. Sheriff's office around the country. They follow LA County Sheriff. You can see behind me, there's a little bit of staging going on. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of the staging, just to keep everything nice and sterile as operations here are ongoing. But I just want to take a minute, let you guys know, down here with LASD. And
nobody's talking to him. Nobody's interacting with him.
Whatever needs
Nobody
to be
gives
done
a fuck
to
about
get
this
situation diffused safely. And with the highest degree of selectivity. But again, LASD, this is the biggest sheriff's agency in the country. Some of the finest deputies that I've worked with, and their capabilities, their tactics are incredible for diffusing a situation like this that's happening on campus. Just want to say it's really important right now to support law enforcement. These are the peacemakers out here, and these are the guys who are going to be risking their life to go in and not only pull those protesters out and protect the students, but we'll want to make sure these guys get home safely also. Down here at UCLA, stand by. I'm going to bring you guys some more.
They're not protecting students.
What's
They're
up,
not
guys?
protecting students. The students don't need your protection, dude. Oh, this is how he's protecting the students. Last night, I teamed up with Dr. Phil to conduct a special independent investigation, which involved infiltrating the pro-terror UCLA encampment. Stay tuned.
Wait, remember how there was a lot of Zionists complaining about people wearing masks and, not showing their faces?
That's who this piece of shit
Methinks
is.
Thou doth protesteth too much. Anyway, continue.
So this piece of shit is an Israeli special operations vet. My guess is either 8200 or Shin Bet. A law enforcement trainer. Bullshit. Which is the reason why.
No, that's probably not bullshit. Honestly.
No. What they
probably
do
not.
is they use that as the excuse to be able to send him here to be able to do his special operations.
Yes.
That's his cover.
Same thing they do with Brazilian specialists and all that, and then they fucking all intermingle and get fucking shud cooties together.
On camera, national law enforcement and counterterrorism analyst. I can see Fox News just eating this guy up. Just loving him.
For sure. I can see CNN.
Fucking Chudville right there.
Being very happy.
They love this guy. Yeah, CNN too. We love the cops. All right. Now, just a reminder from Colombia to Palestine, how the U.S. and Israeli police conspire to suppress us, but not just suppress us, but how their tactics make it over here. Again, this is the thing about the violent raid. Many Palestinians have said that the videos reminded them of the Israeli occupation force's own violence against them across Palestine. This is not a coincidence. As we know, the NYPD and the IDF have a history of collaborative programs and tactic sharing, one of several American-Israeli police partnerships, popularly called the Deadly Exchange is what it's called. Including
Don't look into funding all those cop cities. Don't look into who's funding those. So don't look at that.
The Deadly Exchange refers to exchange programs in which United States law enforcement attend training expeditions in Israel where they learn Israeli military approaches to intelligence gathering, border control, checkpoints, and coordination with the media. Authoritarian tactics across the board. Well, because police are the ultimate authoritarians in our society. These programs, which are standard and widespread across U.S. police, allow for exchange of tactics. It's not really an exchange. It's more a one-way directive tactics on repressive policing, including racial profiling. That actually goes both ways. Mass surveillance, deportation, and detention, and attacks on activists. Plenty of that to go around, I guess, on both sides. But two colonial institutions known for systemic racism and using violence against civilians trained together, they end up further brutalizing oppressed communities. Go figure. In other words, Israeli tactics developed to oppress Palestinians under apartheid are replicated in the U.S. to police Black and brown Americans are now being used to suppress dissent and punish protesters across U.S. universities. No surprise, from Cop City to checkpoints in Palestine, the U.S. and Israel disguise oppression as quote-unquote security. JVP, Jewish Voice for Peace, and researching the American-Israeli Intelligence Alliance, the American-Israeli Alliance, published a comprehensive report concluding that the deadly exchange's main impacts on the U.S. are increased surveillance of civilians, increased racial profiling, and increased policing of protests. Right? Here's one of the direct things that it led to was increased surveillance tactics in Atlanta. After returning from a police tour in Atlanta, the Atlanta Police in Israel, the Atlanta Police Department developed and installed a camera system meant to mimic the video surveillance system used against Palestinians in occupied Jerusalem. Isn't that nice?
And I wonder if that connects into lavender and all that fun stuff.
I'm sure it does. Where's Daddy? Go watch
Who's your daddy?
Oh, who's Daddy? Right. Go watch.
Yeah, it's definitely that.
Go watch the INN
Definitely Who's Daddy
news segment about Lavender and the AI program that Israel is using to target potential people that they want to murder and their families. Last August, right about the time that Rebecca Weiner was hired, Mayor Eric Adams began to incorporate Israeli police drones to use to terrorize Palestinians into the NYPD. Yep. The drones were first used just 2 weeks later to surveil Labor Day weekend backyard parties. Oh, I remember seeing those drones on the Labor Day parties, and people were like, what? And the parades.
Who are these people?
Yeah. Well, they find out with facial recognition on these drones. The deadly exchange leads to racial profiling, as we know. American policing has racist roots, from forming slave patrols to enforcing Jim Crow laws to upholding systemic violence against the black and indigenous people today. Racial profiling is rampant, with black men 20% more likely to be stopped by police, twice as likely to be searched. It extends to black Americans being more likely to be arrested, imprisoned, and killed than their white counterparts. The pillar of Israeli apartheid is the designation of Palestinians as inherently dangerous. In the midst of Israel's genocide in Gaza, it has cracked down on the West Bank, as we mentioned, where Israeli police, soldiers, and settlers have murdered at least 492 Palestinians, including 124 kids, since October 7th. Again, they're saying bring them home. I believe there's less than 100 Israeli hostages at this point. How about the 492?
They said they didn't care. They literally said they didn't care.
Yeah, today, I know.
They were like, we're going to invade Rafah anyway.
I saw that. Right. U.S. and Israeli forces share a preventative philosophy to deter violence, which leads to racial profiling. Their cooperation exacerbates the harm committed against communities seen as inherent security threats by virtue of their identity. Quote, terrorists commit small crimes before they commit big ones. Right. Traffic violations may indicate possible terrorism, which is garbage after his return from Israel. Yeah, okay. Go figure. This is from Let's Talk Palestine on Twitter. It was shared by Zafreen Rahman over on Substack Notes. Thank you for that. I saw this one shared on Twitter and I had to grab it. I thought this was so good. This is from Jewish Currents, right? This looks familiar because this is what's happening on every college campus in America, where the Zionist is draped in an Israeli flag saying Palestine never existed, you fucking terrorist pieces of shit, while everyone is standing in solidarity saying disclose, divest, we will not stop, we will not rest, right? And then, who's paying you animals? Soros? Iran? Go get raped in Gaza, Hamas dogs. Like, we have people on camera saying exactly this, and they keep saying the same.
Why did you do the Scooby-Doo voice with that?
Well, it's not a Jew. Scooby? Well, because it's going to fit right now. Is that a Jew? With you?
Oh, like Zoink Scoops.
Right. Fake Jew traitor. Enjoy the gas chamber, token rat. Say Heil Hitler, you fucking capo. Say it.
Like Zoink Scoops, that's antiseptic.
Wait, I didn't see self-hating Jew. Oh, come on. This is gave you Jewish Currents. Come on. It's also self-hating. I mean, we missed that. And they're all still saying the same thing.
Very self-hating.
And they're smiling the whole time. Take off your mask. Give me your names. You'll never get a job again. Baby killing, rape, scum. And then they wonder why they don't want to share.
You'll never work in this town.
Right? Can't wait till National Guard sprays. Somebody says, will you please just shut up and leave already? This just in, a blood-curdling hate crime. Protesters told a Jewish student to leave campus. Many are asking, are American Jews no longer safe in higher education? Fucking brilliant. Yep. Absolutely brilliant. And sad but true. No DMCA for that, please.
Yep.
Though we did get hit for doing Metallica once.
I mean, I just figured you'd call this segment.
Ask me about my winner.
Well, we just might. That's Jonah Hill. I love that that's Jonah Hill.
Hey, ask me about my wiener.
I love that. That movie is underrated. It's terrible, but also underrated.
Louis Black, right?
Yes, Louis Black. Okay. Ricky from Anti-Imperialist News. As you go to class today, remember that there are no universities left in Gaza. Why? Ask yourself why.
About 200 tons of American high explosives. Why?
Now, this is a 7.5 minute video. I've played some Ian Carroll before. I'm going to play the first minute of it because I think it's really important. And it also is talking about the anti-Semitism bill. It talks a little bit about TikTok. And I'll drop
First
this
of all,
link
though, if you're watching, we're going to have to talk about the mustache. You just need to fill the, mustaches are so 70s pedophile. You gotta move past the mustache.
Come on, man.
You know?
Leave Ian alone.
I just want to help him out. A top bun and a mustache is not the way.
He's going for the samurai look, bro. It's a samurai look. Samurai.
Bro, they had beards, not
to pass
like,
a law that's going to outlaw anti-Semitic speech.
Watch this.
Which includes talking about Israel. This is pretty wild. Check this out. It's called HR 6090. Did you hear that Congress is rushing to pass a law that's going to outlaw anti-Semitic speech?
Yes.
Which includes talking about Israel.
Speech.
This is pretty wild. Check this out. It's called HR 6090. It just passed the House. It's basically expanding on and re-clarifying the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to outlaw anything that meets the definition of anti-Semitism as laid out by the IHRA. This definition they adopted in 2016. And they specify that this includes the contemporary examples of anti-Semitism that we're about to look at. This bill is like specific to any government institutions or any institutions that get government money, like universities.
Pause real quick.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but
we've got it passed the House, so now where does it go?
Senate.
Who will vote against that in the Senate?
Nobody.
Including
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie motherfucking Sanders. Why?
Well,
why would he vote yes on that?
He thinks anti-Semitism is bad too.
And he doesn't want the Israel lobby coming after him much either with that.
He's not running for a re-election again. I don't think he much cares at this point what the Israel lobby is going to say, but
okay.
Sure.
Anyway,
you can get kicked out of university now if you do any of these things. It's from the IHRA website. This is the one that was adopted in 2016. That was originally written as a non-legally binding working definition that is about to be legally binding. Here's some of those examples that they were talking about in the bill. Making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews. Right on. I mean, let's not dehumanize. What do they mean by that? Such as, especially but not exclusively, the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy or of Jews controlling the media, economy, government, or other societal institutions. We'll come back to that. Accusing Jewish citizens of being more loyal to Israel or to the alleged priorities of Jews worldwide than to the interest of their own nation. We're looking at you, Anthony Blinken. Denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination, e.g. by claiming that the state of Israel is illegitimate. Yeah, that's illegal now. I wonder why they'd have to make that illegal. Applying double standards by requiring... You mean double standards like not requiring them to, listen to the International Court of Justice? Double standards like them not having to listen to the UN? Double standards like bombing civilians isn't a war crime? I mean, we would never want to apply double standards to Israel, obviously. I'm not going to read that one. Holding Jews collectively responsible for the actions of the state of Israel. I mean, fair game. Lots of Jews are anti-Israel for great reason. But I couldn't help but notice that in the bill, there's the section at the bottom that says constitutional protection. Yeah. Nothing in this act shall be construed to diminish or infringe upon any right protected under the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. Boom! Game on, baby! So I figured I'd exercise a bit of that free speech in the First Amendment of the United States of America Constitution, of which I am a citizen, and point out that these are the only 7 senators in the U.S. Senate that have not taken AIPAC money. 93 out of 100 senators in our government are taking money from the Israel lobby. You know, the one that brags about how they bribe all our politicians to keep Congress pro-Israel. Because, you know, when something's the right thing to do, you have to pay people to believe it. Otherwise, why would they believe it? And you have to ensure that any of those bad people that don't believe it don't get elected, because they're bad. The single most influential big money group in Democratic electoral politics. Because, you know, Democratic electoral politics is all about big money. And using that big money to defeat all the bad people that don't love Israel. Like, take this one.
Yeah, Nina Turner. Dude, that's really funny. He's pointing to Chantel Brown because the Israel lobby poured millions of dollars, over $1 million, into their primary race to make sure that Nina wasn't the candidate to begin with. Nina was never going to be the candidate to begin with. That's another story for another day. Problem. Again, this link will be in the description. There's a lot more good stuff here. Check out Ian, Cancel This Clothing Company. He's on Rumble. He's on Twitter. He's on Instagram. I think he's still on TikTok for as long as they keep him on, but they keep kicking him off.
He'll be on OnlyFans. You know.
Now, I wanted to bring a little
any
levity.
way to get your message out.
I know this is running a little long, but we have a couple more things, and then we can get to some other stuff. But I want to bring a little levity to this thing. Charlie G, we know, friend of the network, friend of the show. She wrote a little piece. Hold on. It's just a compilation of all of the wonderful behavior from all the Zionists that are interacting with the peaceful protests and turning them not so
says
peaceful.
That song is Elephant Walk. I don't know if it's.
Yeah,
I'm sure NBC or somebody probably.
Yeah, she said it's old. It's old.
Yeah.
All right, so that's Charlie.
Well, you're old.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Even Zionists not feeling safe doesn't seem to be a problem as they intimidate, harass, and even get quite violent at anti-genocide protests. Of course, then there's the girl who stood at Yale University in the middle of the courtyard with the Jew on one side and Israel on the other side written on her shirt, and nobody gave a shit or did anything.
There's the guy being as racist as possible. Yep. Making Mississippi look good.
Now, this
making Mississippi look good.
Damn. This is what we're gonna close with. What?
No, I'm just.
Oh, that guy in Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Well, yeah, there's.
God damn it!
Mississippi.
I was born in Singing River Hospital.
If you were honest about
in Mississippi,
if you were honest about wanting to build community, you'd be focusing on divestment, but you're not because you're full of fucking shit.
This woman. Oof.
If you cared about student safety, you would have denounced.
All right, wait. This is at Thursday's Rutgers Board of Governors meeting. Rutgers students outlined the hypocrisy of the administration cherishing the community as it sits atop a $2 billion endowment fund invested in Israel while leaving its own community to despair. As the speaker stated, dignity for yourself and nothing else. Man, this is 5 minutes I want everybody to see because this was fucking fire. I sent this to Tara. I sent this to a bunch of people. Like, you guys got to see this. This is wow.
To build community, you'd be focusing on divestment, but you're not because you're full of fucking shit. If you cared about student safety, you would have denounced Israel's genocide of Palestinians. The Center for Islamic Life, Rutgers University, the Silru, that attack, that hate crime, never would have happened if you hadn't emboldened Zionists by not speaking out against genocide and calling it for what it is. You embolden genocide, you embolden racists, you embolden Zionists, and you endanger students. You don't get to play uninvolved and dumb and useless and shocked when acts of hate happens at Rutgers and then also hold all this power. If you can't do your job, step the fuck down. Board of Governors, you shouldn't be governing shit. The board of trustees shouldn't be entrusted with shit. The president shouldn't be presiding over shit. You shouldn't be in charge of anything. You don't deserve to hold the power that you do because you're abusing it. The position that you hold shouldn't even exist. You shouldn't be controlling the endowment. We should be. You motherfuckers in suits, you're all psychopaths, and you're actively manufacturing a shitty fucking world for us all. You laughing? You think it's funny? I don't know how you live with yourself, honestly. I see you. You hold dignity for yourself and no one else. Do you feel that? Do you? Fuck your norms. Fuck your notions of decorum. With your glasses of water, all sitting around the room. You didn't even hold space for us to come in. There's dignity for yourself and no one else. No dignity for Palestinians. No dignity for the students who are ignored and endangered. No dignity for faculty when you threaten them with firing if they speak out against the obvious. There's no dignity for the homeless of New Brunswick, Newark, and Camden that Rutgers gentrifies. Rutgers is the biggest landlord in all these cities and raises the housing prices of these cities. And then all the other landlords raise their prices. And then the locals end up homeless and displaced. And then the board of governors sits in this room with your suits and your glasses of water and your dignity. Dignity for no one else. Rutgers actively displaces both the people of Palestine through our endowment and the people of New Brunswick, Newark, and Camden. And you want to talk about building community? You're full of fucking shit. Fuck your notions of respectability. You're not respectable people. I have no respect for you. Fuck your social norms. Your ideas of what is normal is what got us into this mess in the first fucking place, where we're invested in genocide. You think it's normal and acceptable to be funding and profiting off of genocide. This problem was brought to y'all years ago by the Endowment Justice Collective, and it was shot down. And now here we are, and it's so much worse. More are dead because you ignored it before, and you're still not acting. Every day that goes by, Israel murders more Palestinians in the most undignified of ways that I can't even describe how they're doing it because I'm going to throw the fuck up. I don't know if you guys are seeing this, or if you're actually tapped in, or if you're watching mainstream media. I don't understand what's going on through your guys' heads. Genuinely, I don't get it. You shouldn't be able to decide for the rest of us what is normal. You made us do all this work of drafting a 56-page fucking document, formally arguing that investing in human rights violations goes against university mission and policy. Why the fuck did we even have to do that? Why did we have to formally argue? Why are there no ethical standards for investment in the first place? There's only standards for divestment. You structured this so that we would have to argue with you and fight with you tooth and nail to get shit divested when we shouldn't even be invested in the first fucking place. And there's only a vague standard for investment, is that the investment has to follow Rutgers' mission. So I'm going to ask you about Rutgers' mission. Is it in line with Rutgers' mission to intentionally target civilian infrastructure, to force people to eat grass, to use tents as sanitary pads, to have C-sections with no anesthesia and no antiseptic?
Love her.
And then we're collaborating with Tel Aviv University for a Helix Hub in the name of progress and innovation and medicine. How do you not see the hypocrisy in that? Are you actually hearing me, Holloway? Can you respond if you're hearing me? Yeah? Okay. Why do we have to convince you that this shit is unacceptable? You do all this work, all these people coming together outside, and you're ignoring. This should be a task that you drop everything for. You shouldn't be focusing on anything else. All three campuses in New Brunswick, Newark, and Camden voted overwhelmingly to divest. You have a moral obligation both to us, the students, and to Palestinians whose blood is on all of your hands. Divest now. If you were honest about wanting to build community, you'd be focusing.
Dude, just people like that. Inject that shit into my veins. People like that give me hope. And they'll look to get her thrown out of school for that. Watch.
Pretty good.
They'll look to throw her out of school for that, for speaking out, for actually being disrespectful to to the president of the university in a public hearing. You know what?
Right to jail, right away.
As a former Rutgers student, and my wife is a former Rutgers graduate, bravo. Fucking bravo, man. Wow. Wow.
Yep.
All right. I don't do too much pitching, but Substack, IndieMediaToday.com. Check it out. Hey, that's a stream alert for
Coming to
tonight's
a
show.
Substack newsletter near you.
That is correct. You get some INN stuff that I share over. You get all the clips that I share out from this show each day, and I cut them up. Sometimes I even edit them down even further, like the Hamilton Nolan one, down to an 11-minute clip. But there's so much more over there. I write original articles. We've got all the guest appearances, like when I was on with Beauty and the Boomer with Reef and Necessary Illusions podcast. Articles about tech tips. Wow, that was loud. And then it's been a while since I shared some other articles from other stuff across here, but there's tons of stuff to check out. IndieMediaToday.com. All right. And while you're at it, that little QR code is to hook Jett up with a new computer. We are at 50%. QR code is down in the corner by Reef right now. I'm going to put up, here are all the people that have donated. We got $10 tonight from Anna Mayers already. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Love you for donating. My channel actually has super chats enabled, but also Cash App, Rumble, Substack. Subscribe everywhere. Now,
brought to you by Waterloo Grape Sparkling Water.
Wait, hold on. That's very funny. Very nice. Very nice.
Brought to you by Waterloo Grape Sparkling Water.
Now I'm gonna have to put that there was a pitch and that there was some kind of a endorsement in there. Yeah,
yep.
Exactly.
Use code Reef at checkout.
Sorry, slurp. There we go. All right. We got a few more things to get through, and I want to rant a little bit here. So let's do this. Stella Assange, we all know who she is, right? This week was World Press Freedom Day on Friday. She has a Substack, also StellaAssange.substack.com. Here's her meeting with Jeremy Corbyn. And she asked everyone to record a video to speak up for Assange, taking part in that. To record a little something saying that I'm speaking up for Assange on World Press Freedom Day. Free him, free us all. Show up on May 20th, which is the new hearing date. So that was one of the things that they wanted to get through. Here is one of the things that just kind of promoting this. So she shares kind of weekly updates like we do over at INN Stack. But I noticed that there was an absence of talking about the journalists murdered, and B, talking about Julian Assange on World Press. There was a lot of gaslighting. For example, Reporters Without Borders decided to say that there were 0 killed and 0 journalists detained as of today in the United Kingdom. So our friend Matt O'Brien, how the fuck does RSF International omit the greatest journalist in the world that's in jail in the UK? Why don't you just surrender us to all to tyranny with your cowardly silence, or better yet, fuck off and let someone with integrity stand up? And then this one,
tyranny.
Here, this clown. Even the CPJ says that he's not a journalist. Yeah, except for all these other organizations that state otherwise. In 14 years, nobody's provided any evidence that he did anything but award-winning journalism. If you have it, post it below. Yeah. Now, we can debate whether he's a journalist. No, you can't. And he's also a publisher. And it's political. So therefore, you cannot keep him locked up. Let him go.
Julian.
This shit was wow. And it got Misty so pissed off. World Press Freedom Day. It's always good for some insane hypocrisy. How many times have these douche canoes been asked about Assange and refused to answer? Shut the entire
this
fuck up, you
fucking
mouthpieces for power. Dude, I'm not going to play this.
inflatable Sagar.
Yeah, well, I'm not even going to give Saga the credit. I'm going to call him Inflatable Vivek.
Okay.
But this is the gaslight of all gaslights. It's less than a minute. Out. Screw it.
From war zones to
angry.
oppressive regimes, every day journalists put themselves on the front line in search of the truth.
They shine a light on injustice. They hold leaders accountable.
They tell the stories needing to be told.
It's selfless work, and it's essential work.
It's through their reporting and courage
that we become aware of all that is happening across our planet.
And it's only by knowing that we can work toward us.
We're sorry. Today, we honor the journalists who have risked their lives, and for some, lost their lives, in the quest for the truth.
Whether you're in the briefing room with us or reporting from a country far away,
thank you for using your pen or camera
to help us understand all that's happening in the world.
Even when we're calling you out for being corrupt, lying motherfuckers, thank you.
Yeah.
Don't lie on the public platform.
So, another fucking douchebag. Without protest, we would still live in a segregated country. Without protest, women would still be second-class citizens. Without protest, the LGBTQ plus community would be still hiding in their identities. Yeah, great. Except that you're now going to vote for the anti-Semitism bill, you dickhead.
Your financial support.
So Misty very astutely points out that if you support the First Amendment, why haven't you spoken in defense of journalist and publisher Julian Assange? And some asshole, Google is free, literally quoting a tweet from 2019 where he never mentions Julian Assange. Now, it's in response to Assange being locked up 6 weeks after he's taken from the embassy, by the way. So, just to remind this
Price
asshole,
is wrong, bitch.
5 years since April 11, 2019, 0 mentions of Julian Assange's name, 0 requests to Joe Biden and the Justice Department to drop the charges, which as a senator, he's perfectly welcome and capable of doing, and 0 mentions of Assange on the Senate floor by Senator Fuckface McSheepdog.
Bitch, I hope the fuck you do.
And I'm embarrassed to say that I went all World Press Freedom Day without mentioning these two giants, these two kings, Wael Dahdouh and Motaz, who spent 2023 running for their lives and are thankfully healthy and alive. This dude that saw his kids, both of them that have seen their children murdered and continue to report and fight. I love these guys, and everyone should be following them. Motaz has about 1 million followers. Wael has another 685. They should be the 2 most followed guys on this platform. They don't even tweet here much, but yeah, I wanted to make mention of the over 120 Palestinian journalists who were murdered, and I don't think that there was nearly enough that this asshole had anything to say about the 120 Palestinian journalists that we've contributed to murdering.
Nope.
So
nope. No talk about David McBride. No talk about Edward Snowden. No talk about, anything.
Right.
And definitely doesn't mention anything that they covered.
Right. And certainly not exposing what Julian Assange exposed and talking about what he exposed. Right. Sure.
If anything, he was tired of the damn emails.
Yep, he sure was.
I remember
I'm tired of hearing about your damn emails.
Try me, bitch.
The emails that actually proved that they were conspiring to hold his campaign down. Yep, that's the one. All right. I said we were going to talk about Chris Legion earlier. Chris wrote an article, Top 10 Strategies that Propagandists Use to Manipulate People. So, how do you spot
Coming
it?
to a Substack newsletter near you.
Well, let us start by asking a simple question. What is propaganda? Which we know is a tool as old as human history itself, employed by various entities to sway opinions, shape narratives, and maintain control over others. In today's world, it permeates through every aspect of society, from politics to media to social networks. Understanding its strategies is crucial in navigating the sea of information and inundating our lives. So here are 10 basic strategies that Chris has noticed employed by state propagandists, deceitful independent media personalities, and establishment influencers. Now, Reef, you like to say labels are bad, but he's saying to label your enemies. There's a lot of labels on there.
Make sure they're accurate if you're going to use them.
So number one is that propagandists label their enemies. They consistently resort to labeling individuals with false claims to strengthen their arguments and tarnish the reputation of others. By employing harmful terms, names, and labels, they categorize people into distinctive groups, fostering division and entrenched animosity. When executed effectively, this strategy redirects focus away from substantive issues or disagreements, as the propagandized become preoccupied and fixated with the assigned labels. Consequently, this perpetuates unwavering conflict between those opposing sides. Right. And then, of course, we've got divide and conquer. They consistently maintain a binary narrative, dividing people into oversimplified labels such as good or evil, blue versus red, and so on. You support Hamas. Automatically. You support terrorism if you are against Israel, right? That's one of the things that... Oh, shit. Hope we didn't just lose it. We're wavering. Another tactic they employ is ensuring that individuals within these opposing factions perceive their own group as morally righteous while painting the other group as morally corrupt. And by framing issues in moral terms, they're less likely to question their own positions, clinging to a sense of moral superiority and remaining steadfast in their beliefs. Funny how that works. Right? They're going to spin and twist to the opposite narrative. This is projection. Propagandists often manipulate and defame the names of opposition groups and organizations by distorting their words and intentions. They invert the meaning of the group's identity to cast them in a negative light. For example, if a group identifies as anti-fascist, propagandists will falsely label them as fascists, perverting their name to portray them as the very ideology they oppose. Conversely, they may claim to champion freedom of speech and expression while falsely characterizing genuine anti-fascist movements as proponents of censorship and authoritarianism. Or communism. We see a lot of that. Rinse and repeat the narrative. This is the Trump playbook. This is a significant tactic frequently employed by propagandists. They consistently utilize specific lies, phrases, or smears, make America great again, repeating them relentlessly. Through coordinated efforts, these talking points are echoed verbatim across their entire network, forming a massive, unyielding campaign. With such rapid and widespread repetition, these falsehoods seep into the collective consciousness, often leading people to unconsciously accept them as truth. Even individuals who recognize the falsehoods may conform out of fear of societal rejection or ostracization. Say that 5 times fast.
Ostracization.
No good. The big setup. Another deceptive tactic that many aren't even aware of, frequently employed by propagandists, is the deliberate dissemination of false information to their adversaries, intending to later exploit it to discredit and vilify them as dishonest. For instance, propagandists masquerading as members of their opposition may post fabricated videos or images on social media, falsely representing them as related to the opposition's cause. Subsequently, as the misinformation spreads virally across social platforms, the propagandists and their network of influencers and agents will expose the falsity, thereby framing their opponents as purveyors of mistruths. Of course, they use infiltrators. We know that these are Patriot Feds. Agent provocateurs are a well-established and frequently employed tactic utilized by propagandists to dismantle movements, organizations, and individuals they seek to discredit and undermine. We were talking about that a little bit earlier when we were talking about the college protests. From protests to political parties, labor unions to revolutionary groups, the use of agent provocateurs remains an old common strategy for propagandists. Their primary objective is to infiltrate, sow discord, dismantle movements and organizations from within. In many instances,
discord.
Yeah, so I've heard that somewhere before. These agents will also, in many instances, conceal their true identities and engage in acts of violence. Conceal their true identities and engage in acts of violence, thereby tarnishing the reputation of their adversaries. I recall in the George Floyd protests, there were guys dressed in all black that certainly looked a lot like feds breaking windows. There were pallets of bricks left around for violence to happen. Those are for the agent provocateurs. This allows them to provide their networks of supporters with false justification to portray the infiltrated groups as violent criminals, thus legitimizing arrests or tarnishing their reputation, which is exactly what we saw happening across the country. And of course, we've got the make it a big lie. Another enduring tactic utilized by propagandists is the big lie strategy, all right, which is originating, of course, from Nazi propaganda during World War II. This approach has been deployed repeatedly in propagandist campaigns. They fabricate an outrageously false claim, initially met with skepticism by most people. However, through relentless repetition, employing rinse and repeat strategy, the big lie gradually infiltrates the collective subconscious, leading many to eventually accept it as truth. What the shitlibs have been calling the big lie for the last 3 years, of course, is the same thing that they called a big lie for the 4 years prior to that, which was over the results of the election. And then we've got projection, again, another tactic of the Democrats as well as of Trump.
Grow up, get serious.
The projection method is a common tactic employed by propagandists, reminiscent of strategies found in the Nazi PSYOP playbook. In this technique, propagandists will deflect attention from their own misdeeds by attributing them to their opponents. They accuse their adversaries of the very actions they themselves are guilty of, all while denying any wrongdoing on their part. Hillary Clinton is the queen of that, of course. And Joe Biden, too. This strategy forces their opponents
into... And the one
who
called her the queen of that is also...
Yes, Tulsi Gabbard, that's right. This strategy forces their opponents into a perpetual defensive stance, diverting attention away from the propagandist's own actions. How many times a week did you beat your wife, sir? Is pretty much the way that they do it. Consequently, they manage...
Glad you said wife.
Yes. Consequently, they manage to obscure their
something
own
else
crimes
you could beat.
through a cycle of deceitful deniability and continuous diversion. Then here in the past, one of the tactics is drawing first blood, in which propagandists excelled. Prior to the rise of social media, was controlling the narrative and being first to disseminate stories. Leveraging their dominance over legacy media, officially appointed propagandists like the Associated Press and Reuters would craft and circulate fabricated narratives ahead of their opposition's awareness. Whether these stories aim to distract or deceive, propagandists ensured that the initial focus remained on their falsehoods, effectively stifling the emergence of truth and minimizing its visibility to the public, especially in the beginning when it matters the most and opinions are being formulated.
Well, and especially online, because they've lost the propaganda war of cable. So now they're over here trying to get the Destinies and all these other idiots in your eyeballs. In any way possible, they can do that.
And that's Chris's 10th point and final point, the independent grifter.
Yeah.
One of the newest and most insidious propaganda tactics involves cable news hosts who are abruptly removed from their mainstream media positions due to scandals or contract disputes. Don Lemon.
Right.
Tucker Carlson.
Don Lemon. Glenn Klippenstooge.
Beware of these individuals as they often...
Who's the one? Mehdi Hassan. He's over at Substack, right?
Yes, he started Zeteo or Zedio or whatever he wants to call his new media company.
Right.
Yep.
Who did they have on recently?
AOC.
With that?
Sponsored by Substack.
That's it. Shit.
Beware of these individuals as they often represent...
How long? How long before we actually
Coming to
get
a Substack newsletter near you.
I told you that's coming any day now. She's going to be opening one up. And you know what? She'll get 1 million. She'll be a purple check in a day. She'll get 100,000 subscribers. Pay her $5. She'll make $500,000 a month doing that if she wanted to. Because there's enough shitlibs over there that would pay her. Yeah, him too. Well, beware of these individuals as they often represent a transition of legacy media propagandists to the growing independent social media community. Aware that the era of traditional media is waning, media execs are gradually shifting their focus to social media platforms, forming alliances with tech companies to dominate the independent media space, like YouTube.
Ask them!
However, this transition is far from straightforward. One common practice entails crafting a narrative around the cable news host's supposed awakening after experiencing scandal or disagreement, leading them to migrate to a seemingly more independent social media platform. Additionally, propagandists and their organizations orchestrate the emergence of manufactured content creators.
Yep.
I'm going to say a name that's going to not be popular here with a lot of people because I think a lot of them like him and he's doing some good work, but he also, I would put him in this category, which is Judge Andrew Napolitano. Until about the last 3 or 4 months, I have vehemently disagreed with this man's views for 20 years. All of a sudden, he just woke up.
Motherfuckers at the Hill, too. Some of them.
Or all of them, but
people who came out of the Hill.
Yeah. So Chrissy's conclusion is that propaganda stands as the quintessential tool of manipulation, wielded by those in power, spanning governments, financial entities, media outlets, social networks, and various other institutions. It's undeniable that propaganda, has been
breaking
employed.
Points.
Yes, it's undeniable that it's been employed for nefarious purposes. Hunter Biden laptop, for example.
Associates of which.
Yeah. Its pervasive prevalence, especially among those vying for influence and control, has permeated society, obfuscating the boundaries between reality and fiction. To counteract this manipulation, raising awareness is imperative. Go ahead.
But wait, there's also, not even in the media space, there's the independent politician who has also been part of this. Pick one. Pick any of them. All of the above in that case.
Dr. Cohen.
I hate that some of y'all still need to fucking figure that shit out. All of them. Every one of them. You know.
By revealing and studying the strategies utilized by propagandists, we can empower ourselves to regain command over our perceptions, fostering a society grounded in truth, moral judgment, and solidarity. Learn how to spot bullshit and turn that bullshit detector up to 10 because there's bullshit coming at us from everywhere. Everywhere. All right?
Word.
Now that's funny. Speaking of bullshit and propaganda, funny. Our next story involves Substack, which saddens me to no end. But
a Substack newsletter near you.
Chris Best, CEO of Substack, puts out something, and I love the owners, the management and leadership over there. How many CEOs do you know would go onto a social media platform and say, "Oh, hi there, what's the worst thing about my platform to you?" Our brother Rich nailed it. Didn't nail it, but he put his. I found this hilarious. Hamish McKenzie, who is the CEO, COO, CEO. Why is he saying such a thing? Well, Rich wrote an article for the first time in 2024. He closed out 23 with something. So he says, "Dear Substack, hi, it's me, Austin." Oh, shit, that's not my intro. Hang on. I don't really quite get that, but he's got this weird AI.
I still feel like Hamish McKenzie sounds like a fun PBS character of Pitt. You know? Like The Adventures of Hamish McKenzie. No, just me.
Maybe.
You know?
So what he wrote here is
there's the Caillou crossover, bro. There's that Caillou crossover. You know what I'm saying?
Caillou. Oh God. So
You know?
lies, damn lies, and Substack serving the status quo. So he says 2024 has been mostly a year of more of the same. Does the same apply to Substack too? So he hasn't been around for a while, so he catches us up and he says, after a short winter hiatus to respect other hobbies and pastimes, I've reappeared on the beautiful, unblemished face of Substack like a bad case of Berlin monkeypox. Love it.
See what you did there?
Don't worry, I wasn't totally missing during this period, though I didn't publish anything here in full form. Sorry to my one subscriber, I owe you $25 worth of posts today. I did enjoy the Notes platform and continued networking with other writers and readers alike during this time in the US and abroad. I witnessed horrors unfold, I cracked jokes, I watched people implode, I met the sanest and the least sane. It was gratifying, and though it felt much like a spiritual rebirth of the 2016 Twitter heydays, I can only say it was refreshing and new, completely unique, quintessentially Substack, and most of all, organic. 10 out of 10. That is largely still unchanged, but we'll get to that. Unbeknownst to me, however, little else was changing. Substack was, as I had alluded to in 2022 and again pointed to in 2023, gladly showing fealty to the U.S. security state whims, desires, and narratives, singing their praises. One recent rainy evening in Portland, I was shown a note by Hamish McKinsey from me, this guy, and syndicate host, Indie News. It was both hilarious and tragic, and it summed up why I largely took a hiatus from Substack in the first place, though proves why even bumbling idiots like I need to write and be here. I can't hide it. Let's cut to the chase. Hamish McKenzie is a fool and continues to expose his political naivete, putting the brand at risk of being seen as the eminent deranged cranks blog host of choice. And in doing so, he reduces the credibility of the other accredited and visible authors he wishes to solicit to the platform to become sources of revenue. What does he mean? Whatever does he mean about my beloved Substack? I think I trumpet and parrot and mirror a lot of his thoughts here. Substack is a platform versus a brand. As it stands today, it's an interesting evolution of a simple concept, unfettered speech, and the antithesis of an algorithmic host. You only saw what you wanted to. Yes? What? Yes.
This is algorithmic host?
Yes.
What?
Well, meaning that someone that they're pushing stories on you that they think you should see, versus here you only see the subscriptions and the feeds that you were subscribed to potentially initially.
Right. Not
That's
just
what
in
he
like
means.
chronological order.
Right. Well, that too, but also who they're pushing. You only saw what you wanted and very little of all of what you didn't. It was a great space to whiteboard, create, and meet like-minded people. And while this concept remains largely untapped beyond Substack, they remain a fantastic space to do one's thing uninterrupted and with minimal downtime or platform quirks. Still 10 out of 10. The platform is stable, and as time goes on, features continue to be added, which overall increases quality of life for all, including creators who couldn't stop pivoting to video. I, for one, welcome our 2013 approach overlords, actually. Thanks. Notes, videos, and GIFs on Substack.
Video killed the Substack start.
Right? Notes, videos, and GIFs. These are all fantastic and welcome additions. However, they come at a cost, and that cost is revenue model, where writers who solicit to pay a VIG to Substack or Square. All well and good. It's no App Store 30%, but it's something to keep the lights on in the Embarcadero. That's where Substack headquarters is. No harm, no foul. It's not like Substack's getting rich on the back of deranged pro-war imperialist propaganda, right? Well, sort of. We don't exactly make any bones about it, but some of the world's most well-read, or least read, depending on who you choose, propagandists have found homes on Substack in recent years, like Anthony Vindman, or Alexander Vindman, and who's the guy, Adam Kinzinger, are here, right? I've already made a note of this in prior work. Substack has a corporate media narrative problem, and so far hasn't done anything to address it. To the contrary, they seem to have leaned into it, trying to fill the space that a BuzzFeed or a Vice might have held in the last decade. And in doing so, they end up hitching their wagon to bizarre posts, finding bedfellows in depths that have only been plumbed by the likes of ViceGrad24 and the Trump administration. Substack was essentially degrading itself and the user base by partnering with and increasing the visibility of such inauthentic or intellectually bankrupt content. In the past year, they've tried to build themselves out as a brand desperately clinging to the notoriety of passing celebrity as it wafts through the platform. A stench of unearned importance. I love it. The reason Substack has had little success in such attempts, including the Substack election, which we covered in September, is because the quality of celebrity that it continues to promote is frankly not credible. We've had the likes of Nate Silver, Mike Cernovich, Dan Rather, and so many more, Dan Rather being the least of the three, though his own decades of work in the service of corporate and state-backed propaganda at CBS speak for themselves. So he says, most things in life boil down to personal preference and how we, based on prior experiences. Now, without getting into the weeds of what makes a man tick or the interpersonal history of Hamish, I need to start this part off with a 737 MAX-sized caveat. He says, I don't know Hamish. I would love to sit down with him someday and ask him all the interesting and proper questions of what makes him and why he arrives at the points in history that he does. I don't have such access, and frankly, I don't think that anyone would be satisfied with the answers given. Let's just presume he's a Mary Sue, an everyman who can do everything and has no flaws, omnipotent, and don't need no man. So what's new with Hamish this month? Well, and has anything changed? Is he still pitching hucksters, promoting garbage, accepted as fact? Well, he has a sit down here. Great to see Tim Mack in conversation with Peter Suderman tonight. Celebrate the first anniversary of the counteroffensive, that's their Substack publication, discussing everything from the loyalty of Ukrainian war dolphins to how to fund reporting from
war
conflict
dolphins.
zones. Oh, the good also good chandeliers
Flipper
at the
2,
O Museum.
The Revenge.
Right? So, Rich, so I had sent this post. This is the post I sent to Rich, and I said, oh my God, can you believe this? This guy is an absolute Ukraine shill, a total NSA propagandist. It's a joke. And so Rich says, thanks for spurring on my next piece. How do you manage to step in such giant piles of horse shit over and over? If you remember correctly, Hamish was the reason for all of this Substackers against Nazis hysterics back about 6 months ago, where a bunch of people got up in arms about him interviewing one guy who used to have neo-Nazi views a long time ago. So he gets into who Tim Mack is. All right. Well, but first, Hamish continues to promote open propagandists as if they are credible journalists or authors. I'm not sure what's great to see someone who writes such incredulous bullshit, but Hamish seems to feel that way. So let's take a brief look at the man he's pitching to us. Yeah. Twin revolutions, Ukraine's Maidan and Taiwan's sunflower. So this guy works for the intel community. Right off the bat, and just 1 month ago, Tim was singing the praises of a U.S.-backed coup in Ukraine in 2014 that led to the deaths of more than 40 in Odessa and thousands more across the now war-torn country, and a failed attempted one in Taiwan, shocking nobody. Tim seems to be a proponent of U.S.-supported narratives and political actions, including covering Ukraine, Syria, and dolphins? Weird. Yes. This piece about dolphins is largely taken from Alexandra Hay at Kiev Independent, a known propaganda rag. No, I'm not making this up. If you read these in chronological order, you get the scene of a very paranoid, sleepless man writing whatever inane ramblings came spewing from Budanov's asshole on a given day. But it isn't simple sleepless paranoia due to Russia bad and Iskander keep falling on my head. No, Tim is clearly dedicated to his craft of becoming a U.S. State Department spokesperson, as shown in other writings, where he's just fear-mongering about Russia, students without sunlight, the underground school kids of Kharkiv. All paid Substacks, by the way. You have to pay to be able to even comment on this asshole propagandist. He only allows an echo chamber.
Coming to a Substack newsletter near you.
Only allows an echo chamber of people that pay him to be able to comment. The juxtaposition of children hidden in underground shelters thanks to Ukrainian war crimes from 14 to 22 against claims of Russian war crimes in 24 with a sprinkling of Syria bad, Assad gas own people for good measure is just the icing on the fucking cake. When Ukraine used white phosphorus...
I sniffed a fucking backpack.
Well...
You don't know.
When Ukraine used white phosphorus...
It smelled like poison.
In the last 2 years, Russia called attention to this. When Ukraine used cluster munitions in 2022 and 23, Russia called attention to this. When they used banned pedal mines from 2014 to today, Russia called attention to this, as did even Bartlett, as did we. Tim Mack never seemed to pick up on any of this. Why is that? Hamish, what exactly...
Not to? Oh, wait, no, sorry.
Well, maybe. What exactly are you promoting here in Tim that I couldn't find by simply reading deranged posts on Telegram or in U.S. weekly news from U.S. supporting apparatchiks? He has 10,000 subscribers. What did he fucking do? How many of them are even authentic? What substance does Tim Mack offer Substack beyond incomprehensible lies about military dolphins, which I should remind viewers were supposedly Russian just a few months ago, and because Russia equals bad, military dolphins equals bad? Does Tim Mack offer a Substack a path to growth long term, or does his presence and highlighting on the platform alienate users further and drive them away? He says, on the surface, I don't have anything personal against Hamish. To the contrary, I hold him in high regard in most cases, as do I personally. I offer a harsh critique when it comes to his management of the platform because it impugns all of us who use it. That's right, because we care. When Hamish promotes a deranged propagandist or theorist pushing U.S. State Department lines as if they're gospel, he doesn't show respect to the users who've witnessed the narratives change, the unfold, and then become rebooted several times over the years. The same tired lines, the same accusations from silence, the same hypocrisies over and over and over again. And that's why they're at Substack, because corporate media cast them aside. Hamish at best seems oblivious to this. A Homer Simpson of political sausage making. A guy who gets his understanding of the world largely from corporate news headlines and narratives, rather than looking at the actions and trails of blood money. In that comment is no judgment, just observation like many. Hamish is a product of his environment, and as much as he or anyone wishes to change that environment, he's formed by it, or regularly blocks large parts of it out when inconvenient. We Westerners instinctively take the U.S. government's word, even though it's been shown to be without credibility for the last 80 years. Decades of wars fought to support U.S. economic and strategic interests as if they're humanitarian inquisitions on the basis of fabrications and outright lies. Israel, what? Yeah. Millions of dead people for some sanctimonious idea of American hegemonic supremacy, in reality to support American corporate interests. As we described before, American corporate interests supersede all human life at all costs, any cost, including basic liberties like speech or basic concepts like truth. Right, Hamish's folly is simple. He's trying to win over the audience that causes the problems that require a Substack in the first place. His Substack is a response to a bad call-out, corporate press. The correct response is organic speech, not micro-propaganda. In promoting Tim Mack and others named above, among myriad others I didn't mention in this piece, Hamish shows fealty to the corporate state. Hey, Mussolini said that's fascism. Brotherhood, right, the corporate or state brotherhood that would gladly see his platform stricken off the internet as a bad case of thought crimes against their feelings. This is what I've been trying to say. They would get rid of Substack. They've been trying to beat Substack, and they haven't been able to beat him, so they're like, we're just going to go there, infiltrate it, and trash it. Sounds like what Elon Musk is doing over at Twitter. I wonder if he's even aware that Meyerowitz exists, an official Ukrainian state kill list of both Ukrainian and non-Ukrainians the state would like to see killed. I wonder if he understands that things aren't as they seem, that hitching his wagon to a brazen propagandist such as Tim actually hitches his wagon to Meyerowitz and the deaths of peaceful activists burned to death in Odessa during Maidan. I wonder if he even cares. And that makes me not care about Substack. I might not have a TV network or Republican administration on my resume, but I can go to bed at night not knowing I didn't openly fraternize with this bullshit. I could just as easily go buy web hosting and form a platform with blackjack and hookers, scratch the platform and the web hosting. So he's dealt with good platforms and shit, short-sighted CEOs before. Twitter was great, or at least the concept of it was to him, until he interacted with more Jack Dorsey and saw how the U.S. used Twitter as an instrument of color revolution, as a U.S. tool, which then became a tool of partisan censorship. Twitter became useless to society and people left in droves. Bots had to be made to substitute the lack in activity. Elon pedo guy Musk bought it, and all hell broke loose. The bots changed partisanship. You saw more inauthentic tech posting rather than political posting. And of course, the now famous death throes of X, dead on arrival, languishing in the shadows of relevancy it once had. Well, shadow bans are real, and now we've got the porn bots that are here. Whenever somebody posts something, and I'm working on a piece about this, whenever somebody posts something that is questioning the U.S. intelligence state, all of a sudden you'll see a porn bot response or a crypto bot response, which is then designed to deboost that post because Twitter's algorithm automatically looks for those posts and deboosts them. Rich's opinion is that Substack is doomed to repeat the same outcome. Hamish will eventually be caught up in a political quagmire, tugged in all different directions until his true allegiances are formed. I expect this to take the form of censorship, as all platforms do, and has already been made clear by me some time ago. He wrote something way back. This statement by then Substack spokesman Miss Chang Messervy seems less from her own views and more from the point of Hamish on reflection, and I'd like to apologize to her. I know she recently found work at Activision Blizzard King, and I wish her the best in her endeavors in the toxic white male gamer world. So Hamish, my problem isn't with Substack at all, but with your naivete endangering the rest of us, both on the platform and humans globally, as you seem to be promoting deranged pro-war propagandists. You have a problem and may wish to separate your own preferred political pony riding and the platform executive fiduciary duty at the very least, if not re-examine your entire belief structure. In an era of Disney eating crow on DEI and people becoming refugees and people being unwilling to fight and die for American corporate interests abroad, you may wish to be careful openly politicizing the company this way. After several years of discoveries about U.S. lies and crimes against humanity in Ukraine, it would be unfortunate to see Substack turn into yet another operative hangout dedicated to supporting those endeavors. So he also, by the way, mentions that his hiatus is now over and he will be syndicating and publishing over at INN Stack as well. So be sure to check us out. Appreciate that, Rich. Love you. This is a long one, but he had a lot to say, and I think it really is relevant because this is one of the few havens that we've got left to publish. And now the shitlibs are coming for it too. And don't think that the anti-Semitism bill isn't going to link in with this too, that they're not going to try to go after people that are publishing on Substack and claim that they're anti-Semites and go after their money and their ability to earn. All right. Shit, man. I still had a couple more. Oh, I did want to mention, here's something that Hamish wrote. A writer should never have to pay to send emails to subscribers. I agree with that. Free to publish matters. Substack's business model is important as the product. As a reminder here, it is. It's free to publish. This makes it easy for anyone to start and try things. It only makes money when publishers make money, which means they're incentivized to help us succeed and disincentivized from doing things that might deprioritize our subscription revenue. Publishers make money primarily through paid subs, which means we're rewarded for respecting trusted relationships with the people who care about our work. And we own all our content and our mailing list and can easily export it all at any time, which holds them accountable to serving the publishers. And tell all your friends. That's what Hamish had to say about that. I also wanted to talk about Taibbi and Hamish. They held, Rich talked about them kind of being elitist. They got frozen out of the Correspondents' Dinner. So he said that their original plan was to pay for a couple of tables at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and populate them with Substackers, but they turned them away. So what did they do? They held their own party called the New Media Party, but Substack isn't just New Media, it's New Voices, blah, 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 blah. Substack is a big fuck you to the establishment. Many of the people in this room tonight are Substack writers. Everyone else, I bet, is a Substack reader. If you don't know what it is at all, please stop helping yourself to free drinks. Very funny. Right? But this also was a little gathering of elitists. Was everybody invited to this? If you were in the DC area, I wasn't. Not that I would have shown up, but it's very weird. They only want a certain group of people to hang out with them and to participate in their in-person events, it seems. Unless I'm just not on a mailing list somewhere.
Well,
So
I think Kaidi stuck his foot in it like yesterday or whatever.
He did.
Inciting the fucking Hamas nonsense.
Well, yeah. He said it was great to be at Samzat's not White House Correspondents' dinner tonight. I had to look up what is Samzat. And what it is a system in the Soviet Union and countries within its orbit by which government-suppressed literature was clandestinely printed and distributed. So the dude's literally like Soviet red baiting about Substack. Because, well, Congress has been red baiting Substack for a while, so it kind of fits. I had Himbo wrote an article. Please go check that out over at INN Stack. We're running a little bit long, and I did want to we do have a long boats tonight, uncensored, over on Rumble. So I do want to get to that. Go check out White Pill Amidst the Darkness over on INN Stack, also on snowhimbo.substack.com. His is random at worst is his Substack. I was also going to read Caitlin's article, which Himbo asked me to put with his, which is about Gen Z just might saving the world. This was a white pilling article about, that we have to look to the positive and we have to build towards something positive. And I agree with that. I'll probably read that next week. I'm going to get to that next week. But
you can always do an extra one or whatever.
Yeah, we can. June 9th. 5 tickets left for the evening show. 5 tickets left for the afternoon show. Apparently, evening show sold out. Jett will be in New York City with Do Dissidents Live. So very excited. I will be there in attendance somewhere. I don't know where. So that'll be fun. Anna says that porn bots chase her every day on Twitter. Yeah, it's gotten really bad. So we got propaganda and narrative. We've got all kinds of nonsense. We've got infiltrations on college campuses because they can't control the narrative, and now they're passing an anti-Semitism bill so that they can try to control the narrative. They are shutting down TikTok because they're trying to control the narrative. Maybe the narrative is kind of important. Why we can't let them control it. We have to continue to push back. We have to continue to scream about all the bullshit and all their lies and expose them. And thank you, everybody. I love you. That was the show for tonight. We're going to get to Boats Uncensored. Rumble only. Got to go to rumble.com/c/Indie News Network. It's only going to be on INN Rumble tonight. We've been getting copyright claims and all kinds of stuff here. Not going to happen there. Plus, there'll be some stuff we definitely could not show here. Reef's dropping the link in the chat right now. We will see you over there just after midnight. Support independent media. We need it more than ever. I love you all. Good night, fam.
Good night, fam.
Mwah. Ciao, baby.
I think I liked it better being blind. I think I liked it better being blind. when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time.